My name is Monique Selman, and I'm your host of Healthy Selfish. I'm so excited for you to be here today and to learn what we're going to be talking about. This whole series is going to be about boundaries. Now, you may have heard this recently. It's been very popular in media, and it's really important to understand not just like what boundaries are, but how to use them. And this whole program is going to be about how we can be more intentional with our boundaries, how we can communicate them well, and how we can improve our relationships, not only with others, but with ourselves by establishing good and healthy boundaries. And so, one of the first things that a lot of people really struggle with when they hear boundaries is that it feels selfish, right? We're telling people no, we're letting them know how they need to act or what they should be saying and doing and treating us. But that's not what boundaries are, right? And even healthy selfish, right, is about making sure that we are being well and good for our own selves. And so why does taking care of yourself feel selfish if it's supposed to be good for you? Well, for one, a lot of people have learned that kindness means unlimited generosity. And that is not accurate, right? It is not good for us, and it can really start to create feelings of like sadness and resentment and confusion, right? It also starts to create exhaustion, right? We become disconnected from the people who we love and who love us. And so when we're trying to take care of ourselves, that also does mean that sometimes we are saying no to others. And so that's why it feels selfish. I think the biggest thing I want you to understand, though, even though it can feel selfish, even though we might feel guilty, it doesn't mean you're wrong. When we are able to make choices for ourselves, when we are able to show that we value our own selves above anything, right, it proves to our own brains, our own hearts, that we are worth protecting. And that's the best way to show self-love. So Healthy Selfish explained. First, let's talk a little bit about selfishness, because sometimes the Healthy Selfish title does get people confused, because how do you find a healthy version of something that's bad? And so selfish is a lack of consideration for others. That means that when we are making choices, we are not thinking about how it might impact someone else, right? Like what that does to people, and how even we might feel when like we have done this to them, right? So if I make a decision for myself, but I'm not considering my husband, right? Any kids that you may have, right? A sibling, a parent, right? That can be selfish because maybe we're leaving them out. Maybe they end up with less, right? They could even end up feeling really hurt because you have not considered how they would feel. Healthy selfish, however, is that we are going to be considering others, but we're going to consider ourselves first. And that's healthy selfish. If you're able to think about what is best for you and how does that impact the community around you, that is what we want. That's how we find the middle ground between selfish and healthy selfish. We just make sure that we are also a part of the equation. And so when we're talking about healthy selfish, it is the understanding that like it's self-respect, right? I respect myself enough to tell someone what my priorities are. I respect myself enough to not go past my bandwidth and say that I am either tired, right? I don't have it in me. I don't want something, or even that I didn't like how someone spoke to me, right? We have to respect ourselves first, and then that blends out into the rest of the world. When we do not establish good boundaries, right, that is self-abandonment. Maybe someone has talked to us in a way that has made us feel like condescending or made us feel small in some way. When we're able to set boundaries and say like, hi, I did not appreciate how you spoke to me, and in the future, that is not how I want us to communicate, right? We will feel better about ourselves when we have good interactions later on that do make us feel respected. And so healthy selfish is also about understanding your values, right? What's most important to you? Let's say you are in a group, right? Maybe it's even like a hobby group, if it's a book club or a knitting club or any other kind of like gamer group, like we have to understand, what are we choosing over ourselves? Like, or even what are we choosing over different areas of our lives? Have you chosen a work project over a dance recital for a family member? Have we chosen that we need to get some things done when in actuality we really needed a nap? Sometimes we really do have to understand where our values lie and make those choices for what is most long-term and impacting into our lives. Last and most important, healthy selfish is when we care for you, right? You have to be included into the equation. How you feel matters, and we want to make sure that you are showing and expressing that in day-to-day life. So, what are boundaries? Boundaries are clear limits. They are to protect us emotionally, physically, and mentally from hurt or pain, right? Discomfort from others. They help to create good relationships, because when someone understands how they are treating us and how that impacts us, they are able to make conscious choices on how we interact. When they make good choices on how we interact, we feel better, right? We feel like that is going to be a relationship we want to keep, because they care enough to make our feelings a priority. What boundaries are not? Boundaries are not control. My phrase for this is often boundaries for me, not for thee. So that means I'm going to explain how I am going to act based on the situation. I don't need you to change. That is completely up to you if you are going to do any kind of changing. But if you do not change, I am going to let you know what I'm going to do as a result. So we want to strive for clarity. So an example of this might be, let's say you are going out, you're having a great time with your friends, but one friend does tend to overindulge and they tend to get sloppy or angry or really confrontational. That might mean, hi, we're not gonna go out if you can't handle yourself. It makes me feel uncomfortable, and so I'm just gonna sit this one out. Let me know if you would like to do something different. I would love to go shopping with you. We can go to brunch, but nightlife might not just be it for us, because this doesn't feel good to me. And so that's not asking that person to stop drinking. That's not asking them to change themselves or their behavior. That's letting them know that you feel uncomfortable, and so you are going to remove yourself from uncomfortable situations. That's clear. It's not control. If they do not want to do that, they do not have to. So then you move differently. Don't try to force them into different actions. So why do boundaries matter? Right? What's the big deal? A lot, actually, a whole lot. So, right, our body will feel the absence of boundaries first, right? Our body is a feedback loop. When we do one thing, our body will respond. If we do not feed our body, we will feel that. If we do not exercise, our body will feel that. And so you really have to understand that even with emotions, your body is going to feel the difference and the impact of self-abandonment when you are not using boundaries well. And so the first is burnout. Right? Burnout is like a state of severe exhaustion and stress. This has been prolonged over a significant period of time that normally contributes to burnout. And so the understanding being that when we have reached burnout, it is likely too late, right? When we have already made it into the stage of burnout where we have given so much and we're feeling that real impact in how we start to drag almost. That's kind of the feeling that burnout gives, right? It's almost like we're carrying sandbags. This is because we have been constantly giving, right? We decided to bake the 100 cookies that was asked. Maybe your church asked you to volunteer Sunday mornings to set up Maybe a friend is having a baby shower and you agreed to do all the favors. Maybe your kids need help with a project and work asked you to put on something extra, and then it's on and on and on it goes. We need to learn when to pull back, when to say no, right? And that is one of the best ways that we are able to pull away from burnout or even stave it off, because we are learning to do less. The second thing that it comes up with is resentment. So resentment, I always say, is like death by 1,000 cuts. We notice resentment pretty often when we are like giving constantly. Maybe you have someone in your life who is a taker and they don't understand limits. They don't know how to say no to themselves. They don't know how to not ask. And so often people who are giving and generous and kind will constantly say yes, assuming that that person will see where the line is, that they will start to stop things, or they will recognize that they have asked for too much. It is really important that you recognize that other people will not be able to understand where your lines are. Your lines are created by you, and when you start to feel them, you will have to communicate that. Resentment starts when we feel that we have been treated unfairly, and that, right, whatever the scales of things are heavily in the other person's side. And so resentment can be like emotional, mental, physical. We will start to experience that in our system, and we really do want to start pulling away and saying no, and that starts to create a little bit more balance in things, and that's how we get rid of resentment. Number 3 on why boundaries do indeed matter: people pleasing. This is one of the most common things I see among people who struggle with boundaries, is because they want other people to be happy. There's nothing wrong with that. Being happy is a good thing, right? Making others happy is also a good thing. But when we stop making ourselves happy in order to see a smile on other people's faces, that's when we lean into people pleasing. And I'm so sorry to tell you, no one will ever be perpetually pleased with you. No one is ever going to constantly be happy. The human brain and just human nature itself is to find things to complain about. Our brains are constantly trying to solve problems, so they have to see problems. And when we people please, right, we're constantly trying to solve problems, but there is no need to rush to the bottom of an infinite list. There will always be things that people want, right? It is not your job to constantly provide it. And so when we have boundaries, we are able to lower our people-pleasing tendencies. Hopefully, we're also able to lower how much other people are asking from us as well. And that also helps with number 2, which is the resentment. So, right, we're getting a double whammy here. And so number 4, right, on why boundaries matter. This is a constant need to change. So when we have a constant need to change, it's the feeling that we can never settle into one space and one feeling, right? And even personality-wise, because maybe your mom wants you to be kind and quiet and demure. Maybe your sister wants you to be loud and brash and like go out and have a good time. Maybe your partner wants you to be independent and, right, like prideful and feeling good about yourselves. While each of these have, right, good aspects to them, if we don't know who we are, if we don't know when to tell other people, stop, this is me, stop, I do not like that behavior, like stop, this is how I'm going to act, we will constantly be shifting into who other people want us to be. Our boundaries don't just create walls and stops for other people, it helps to create walls and stops for ourselves. Sometimes we need to be the ones to recognize that, like, we are not doing well when we're constantly trying to find what other people like and what other people want for you. And so those are the 4 reasons or main reasons why boundaries matter: burnout, resentment, people pleasing, and a constant need to change. So guilt, we're back there. Right? Guilt is normal. It is very normal. It is not a stop sign. It is not a reason to not do something. Guilt is just information. It lets us know where our heart might be entangled, where our feelings might be touched. But it is a very normal emotion. And it's important that we allow ourselves to experience not just good emotions, but negative ones as well. There's a phenomenal book called The Upside to Your Dark Side, and it talks about why negative emotions are useful and why we need them. So when we're sad, right, it shows that something has happened that we don't like. We're able to make adjustments and shifts if necessary. When we're angry, right, it shows us that there are things that we feel are injustices. Anger has created significant change in history. It has created wonderful change in history. So it's not that we want to get rid of it. We want to learn how to channel it. It is the same way for guilt. It is not that we want to get rid of guilt. It is that we want to understand our guilt. We want to understand why it's here, what it might be telling us, what our guilt shows about our choices and our values. So maybe you have to say no to your mom, and she has been a wonderful mother. She has been kind. She has been giving. She has, right, like shown you so much about life. And so we feel like we should, right? Like this wonderful woman, like let's give to her whatever she wants. But like, what if what your mom wants is in direct, right, competition with what you want? Maybe it's the same day as something that you were really looking forward to. So yes, it will feel guilty to say no to someone who deserves it. Right? Maybe your mom does deserve that nice, kind thing, but that's not to say that you don't deserve whatever you are going after as well. And so, like we said, healthy selfish is considering yourself before others, right? We will still consider mom, but she is not the priority. So what that might look and sound like is we will choose the day to do the thing that you want first. And then we will find alternatives for mom, right, to be able to offer if she would like those. And so guilt is here to give us information. It's here to tell us how we want to act and what we should be doing to change. Guilt helps with growth, right? The more we get past it, the easier it is to feel and to just sit with without feeling the need to do anything or change anything about it. Boundaries also change the expectations of people. People might start saying that you've changed. I hope so. I want you to change. Change is the most natural thing in the world, right? We want people to start to see you differently. We want them to say like, oh, you don't normally do that. You're right. I'm learning. I'm learning to be something new, someone new. That's exactly what we want to hear, right? Like we're learning to allow our guilt to be present without being the ruler of our lives. And so guilt often appears when self-abandonment ends. Because we are choosing ourselves, because we are doing the things that other people might not like, right? The guilt is going to be there. But I will tell you this right now. The people who are going to be the most upset about your boundaries are the people you need boundaries with. So healthy selfish in real life. What is that? How do you do it, right? Like, let's actually start nailing down, right? So it's saying no. It's learning to say no even when guilt shows up. That is not necessarily over-explaining things. It's just giving a quick, easy answer. It's also resting. Resting without waiting for permission or to earn it. So important. You do not have to earn rest. Right? The body needs rest. It is a requirement, right? And so give yourself what you need. Rest is one of the most important ways that we can rejuvenate ourselves when things are difficult. And so making sure that we are choosing that as a value. It also means letting other people manage their emotions and reactions to your choices. It is not on you to make them feel better after they have gotten angry because you said no. They're grown. Let them deal with their emotions. If they're your kid or a kid, absolutely help them through and help them understand why they won't always be able to get their way. But adults have to learn how to manage their own emotions about why they didn't get their way. A lot of personal responsibility is placed on people who are setting boundaries to be like, well, you made me upset, so you need to fix it. No, I don't. And no, I won't. It is not on you to fix other people's problems with how you want to live your life. They have to come to terms with that. They have to figure out what that means and how they want to now react because of your boundaries. If they want to set boundaries also, hey, have at it. But until then, right, we're going with our original plan. And then last, right, discomfort doesn't mean you're wrong. Trust yourself, trust your gut, trust your values, right? You know what you want and you know what's important to you. Live that way. And so now we're into a couple of scripts for healthy selfish. So here are ways that you can say, right, the things that are helpful. And again, we want to think short. We're not giving long explanations. We're not letting them know that like, oh, well, actually, sorry, it's because of the, no. Clean, simple, crisp. So example of this, saying no to a request. Sorry, I already said that I would be doing X thing, like, so I won't be able to help. I hope yours goes well though, right? When someone might be asking us for help. So if someone's asking for a fair contribution to a project, to, right, like money, in this one, let's assume that we're carpooling, right, to work. And you're the driver, so it's your car, your gas, and we want the people who are in the carpool to give a little also. So that might sound like, hey, let's make a schedule so we're both contributing equally, right? If you would like to explain that this does not feel fair and I'm starting to build resentment, then that can be an easy and really opening conversation about how you want to start practicing that in the future, right? Setting work boundaries. This one can be really tough because depending on your work environment, right, not all places, spaces, and managers will be understanding to boundaries. However, if you want to be happy at work, if you want to work there long term, if you do not want to hit burnout, it is very important that you establish boundaries early and make sure that they are flexible enough to be realistic in real life. And so this might sound like, hey, I'm offline after 7, but I can get back to you tomorrow. Thanks for waiting. Thank you for your patience. Right? We're letting them know what the expectation is. We're going to tell them when we are going to respond, right? And we're also going to thank them because it may be an inconvenience, right? And we appreciate you being understanding to the boundary. And then last, reducing overcommitment. I'm already booked. I need y'all to practice saying it. I'm already booked. Actually, I won't be able to make it. Sometimes what people will do is like, you'll have an event at 10 and you'll have an event at 12. And then they're like, well, I have a little bit of time in between. No, you don't. No, you do not. You actually do not have a little bit of time in between. Just because that time is there and nothing's happening doesn't mean it's actually free time, right? There's things that you have to do after events. You have to drive there. There's so many things that go on. And so just being able to say, actually, I'm already booked. I can't add anything else to the calendar. Like, thanks for understanding. It's just, I have too much on my plate right now. So we really do want to start communicating how we are feeling, why we are saying no, and what that experience is like. And so acknowledge the request, be clear, and do not leave room for negotiation. Very often that room for negotiation happens when we start over-explaining. And so it might be like, oh, well, yeah, like my cousin has this baby shower, and so then I have to go and do this thing, and later after that, and then they'll hear like, oh, well, the baby shower got moved, so can you do it now? Sorta, kinda. No, actually, we cannot. And so that's why we don't explain why we will not be doing these things, because if things shift and change, they're going to expect you to then shift and change. So if you do not want to, that is the answer. It is okay just to not want to. And so the takeaways. Healthy selfishness is a skill. You have to learn how to do this. It is not something that just like, boop, you already got it. It's a personality trait. Many people have to learn how to say no. Many people have to learn how to break away from the patterns that they were taught when they were young, right? There's a lot of conditioning that happens in our youth where it makes healthy selfishness difficult. There's a lot of messaging, and even now as we age, right, that tells you to like give more, to always be helpful, to like jump in. And while those things are good, everything has to happen in moderation. And Healthy Selfish really wants you to understand moderation. We're hitting that middle of the road, right? We're trying to find the sweet spot of yes and no. And so this week, this is what I want you to be practicing, right? I do give homework for the show. So what values are you going to protect this week? So do you want to protect time with family? Do you want to protect your rest, right? Do you want to take a nap in the middle of the day? Do you want to see your friends more, right? Do we want to value joy this week and just doing some things that you like? Maybe you want to read a book. Maybe you want to start a new hobby. Maybe you've wanted to paint something. But really find how you can like do something that is for you. Again, healthy selfishness is considering yourself first and then considering how that impacts others. We want both. It does not work without both. If you are not considering how your choices, even for your own values, are impacting others, then yeah, we might be sliding a little bit into just selfishness. However, right, when we are considering how our choices can impact others and we're choosing to do it anyway, that's healthy selfish. So thank you so much for coming to the first episode of Healthy Selfish. Today, we just learned all about boundaries and what that looks like and how we can really understand them. And our next episode, we will be talking about impact. I can't wait to see you there. Please come on back. Feel free to follow me at Becoming Enriched on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the things. And I can't wait to see you again. Again, I'm Monique Selman, and it was great to talk to you. Bye.